Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide. Today is going to be a short introduction video about a new product that came out, something that a lot of people are expecting quite a bit, which is the introduction of the 10.3-inch color e-ink panel, which is Kaleido 2. And the first product, I think the first product that's come out that's using this technology is a Chinese tablet that's called Bigme B1 Pro. Now, information about this tablet is very sparse. Mostly you can find what Goody Reader is talking about and all that kind of stuff, or on the Chinese websites on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of went ahead the Chinese side because they have the opportunity to actually maybe test the device in person. And I found a YouTube video and a channel from a user called, maybe it's pronounced Jingjin Lu, I am not sure, but the link is in the description below and you can go and check out his video because I think he did an excellent job as an introduction video. Not everything is covered, and of course it's in Chinese, but you can click the CC button and the translation is there, and the translation is certainly good enough for you to get the gist of it and to actually get an idea about the device. So I just wanted to kind of summarize my thoughts about the Bigme B1 and more importantly Kaleido 2 panel, because that's something that's going to be, it's almost guaranteed that it's going to be stamped into all the forthcoming books products, and quite a lot of other companies are probably going to start using that one because, you know, e-ink is the standard. Now, the problem for me is that Kaleido 1 was not good. As far as I'm concerned, it was definitely not good. And Kaleido 2 doesn't seem that great either. However, the major advantage here is that this time it's not only 10.3 inches, but it also allows for color note taking. Now, that is most definitely a big advantage over any other panel that we had before. So it's the first color e-ink note-taking capable panel that we have. So let's check out what are the things that we can actually conclude from promo materials and from the Jingjin Lu video. What can we expect from Bigme B1 Pro and from Kaleido 2 color panels? Well, first and foremost, e-ink themselves acknowledged that Kaleido 1 was not good enough. And it was so not good enough that in just a span of 6 months, they issued Kaleido 2, where they attempted to fix all the problems that Kaleido 1 had. And I'm not sure that they did. It's definitely an improvement from what I can see, but there's definitely some things that are still very problematic with the technology. They say that one of the main things they wanted to improve is the uniformity of the white or the gray background of the screen, because it was very non-uniform on the Kaleido 1 screen because of that kind of color panel, and it was just imprecise. And you can see my microscopic images and the Poke 2 color review. I go there into microscopic details for real, and then you can understand why the technology is actually flawed. Now, Kaleido 2 doesn't reinvent anything, it just simply, it's an iterative type of improvement of the same technology. So they improved the uniformity. My guess is that they've improved the printout of the RGB strips because they were extremely imprecise on Kaleido 1. Maybe they're more precise and more uniform on Kaleido 2, and that's what gives them that uniformity, which would be great. At this point, I don't know. However, what I do know is that when you compare the white or the background color of the panel itself, Kaleido 2 is much darker than any of the either HD Carta or Mobius Flexible, it doesn't matter, but when you compare it to a grayscale e-ink panel and Kaleido 2, the default white color is way darker. Now, naturally, this requires the device to actually have a very strong and good front light, which is the case what we had with Kaleido 1 devices. For example, Poke 2 Color, which had a pretty bad front light and as such just didn't really work, or Pocketbook Color, which uses the same Kaleido 1 screen as a reader, but they utilized a very good front light and then they were able to kind of extract more from the panel itself. Kaleido technology again depends, because of that darkness, it all boils down to that front light, how good it is and how uniform it is. So that's going to be the major difference between the devices. Now, When we check out the actual performance of the Kaleido 2 or Bigme B1 Pro, the colors are still pale and dark, and no matter how much you crank up that front light, it just kind of pales them up more, which is pretty much the similar, I can see on this video, pretty much the same performance as Poke 2 Color had, which was not that good. When I compare what I can see from that video, Kaleido 2 performs better than Kaleido 1, but it's still nowhere near the LCD and OLED brightness of colors, or even paper printout of colors. It does appear sharper than Kaleido 1, so we'll see how that is. Maybe it's just the way how the video was shot, but the first impression that I can actually see, it appears a little bit sharper and crisper. Unfortunately, it still uses that division of pixels, so while it does have 227 ppi in grayscale mode, the color mode is still around 100 ppi, so that's something that you're definitely going to notice. It's either going to show its head in the way of severe aliasing or fuzziness around the edges. So that's something that remains to be seen, but definitely not the same PPI resolution as the grayscale, which is a problem. On the Bigme B1 Pro, we can see that the screen has quite a slow refresh rate when the panel is being kind of, you know, scrolled or anything like that. That might be just the device itself, that it doesn't utilize any kind of speed modes like Book's devices do. So it remains to be seen what Books will do, because I'm fairly certain that they're gonna take on the Kaleido 2, because they used Kaleido 1, so it stands to reason that they're gonna use Kaleido 2. So it remains to be seen how are they gonna utilize their speed refresh technology, and how is that going to affect the ghosting of this panel, because ghosting was a big problem on Kaleido 1 as well. On this one, I don't see any ghosting, but that's obviously at the expense of speed, so remains to be seen. This device has a single color front light, which is just the cold light, and that's always going to be a problem. And furthermore, later on in the video, he addresses something that I immediately spotted, which was like a glaring problem, no pun intended, and that was the front light bleed on the edges. On the Bigme B1 Pro, it's bleeding all over the place. It's really not good, and I can see that as a potentially huge distracting point for an overall use of a device. So not a great point there from what I can see on the video and on the promo material as well. Now here's the thing that kind of breaks it down completely for me. When the front light is not used, which is something that I prefer, so I fully understand and acknowledge that the front light is useful, definitely, but it shouldn't be a necessity for a technology or a device to work, especially not an e-ink device. That's the whole point of the technology, so that you don't have something glaring at your eyes, and battery efficiency and all the other things, but this is the primary thing. So when you turn off the front light completely off on Bigme B1 Pro or Kaleido 2, it becomes so dark, even in normally lit conditions, that it's completely ridiculous. So it looks like that Kaleido 2, like Kaleido 1, requires a front light of some type to be used so that you can actually use it. And that, to me, defies the point of an e-ink panel, because why, if I'm gonna have something glaring at me in an unpleasant way, why wouldn't I use an OLED screen then on a very low brightness setting? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. The pen is quite interesting on the Bigme B1 Pro. Now this has nothing to do with the screen, it just has with the Bigme B1 Pro device, and it looks like it has a couple of buttons. I don't know, I can't find really the details on what the multifunction buttons are, but probably they're for erasing and different functions, I would imagine. However, the pen is rechargeable, so it's something that you kind of have to keep in mind, which means that you probably can't use other pens, because that's certainly the case with QuickLogic Papier or Quaderno or Sony panels, basically. So for me, this news of a color e-ink has to be compared with the TCL's NXTPAPER technology. It's definitely this kind of in-between type of technology, as I talked before. So it makes sense to me to compare Bigme B1 Pro, for example, with the upcoming TCL NXT Paper tablet, even though I haven't used any of them. So this is me just talking about the previous experience that I had with the devices and what I can see from the promo material, from the data and all that kind of stuff, trying to kind of make a coherent picture of these two and to kind of understand what's what. So specification wise, it's a complete walkover by the TCL NXTPAPER tablet. Just check this out. So we have Bigme B1 Pro on one side and TCL NXTPAPER on the other. CPU on the B1 is a quad core at 1.8 GHz. On the NXTPAPER, it's an 8 core at 2 GHz. We have 2 GB of RAM on B1, we have 4 GB of RAM on NXTPAPER, 32 GB of ROM storage non-expandable, 64 GB of storage on NXTPAPER expandable via micro SD cards up to 256 GB, 4000 mAh battery here, 5500 mAh battery there. Bigme B1 is a larger screen at 10.3 inches, while we have 8.88 inches with the NXTPAPER, so that is definitely an advantage here. However, the resolution, while on paper the NXTPAPER does have lower resolution and it does have lower PPI resolution at 203, is it? However, that is 203 pixels per inch in color or grayscale, and that's not the case on the B1 or Kaleido. Here you have 227 PPI in grayscale, but you have 100 PPI in color mode, so worse color PPI performance on the B1 as well. Android 8.1 on B1 and Android 10, which I still consider that Android 10 is dated. It should be 11 on a brand new device, but still, when compared to this. So I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that as a tablet, as an overall tablet device, the TCL NXTPAPER is going to be a dominant device in all formats. I mean, it has even cameras and all that kind of stuff, if that's what you're interested in. However, what remains to be seen, and we don't have that anywhere shown, not even in this video, is the note-taking performance and note-taking capabilities of these two different technologies. So that's the part that makes them interesting. The reader side is okay. I mean, that's not that new. We've had color e-readers so far. However, the note-taking part is the one that's, for me at least, the most important one, and that remains to be seen. Kaleido 2 doesn't look that promising. For me, at least, from what I can see, it really doesn't look that promising, and I'm not surprised because Kaleido 1 was a faulty approach to this. It's just really bad approach to solving this problem. There's much better ways to actually do this. So I don't like the Kaleido approach at all. NXTPAPER technology seems a lot better, but I've never seen it, and I've never seen any independent review like this, for example, to show how it actually looks like. So that remains to be seen. But the thing that gives me hope is that independent journalists who are not selling the devices on their sites and all that kind of stuff, so journalists who are simply interested in and report on the technology, who had the opportunity to actually see the NXTPAPER technology live earlier last year, were very impressed by it. So that's something that I'm keeping in mind because, yeah, the people who saw it live were impressed by the technology. So it stands to reason that it's something that doesn't disappoint completely, and it might not be a complete dud. Then again, it might be. So at this point, I don't know, but I do know that Kaleido 2 isn't delivering, which is something that I expected, and NXTPAPER promises and has the potential to actually deliver something that we're looking for. However, it all falls apart for Bigme B1 Pro as far as I'm concerned when you take into consideration the price, which is $950. $950 for this. That is complete fantasy land. That is just completely unreasonable. And for what it actually delivers, it's ridiculous. It's just doesn't make any sense at all as far as I'm concerned, because for that total price, instead of buying the Bigme B1 Pro, for example, I could get NXTPAPER tablet for $350, for color reading and some markup if I wanted to. And if I wanted to have ultimate writing experience, like really good writing, it's remarkable too if that's your thing. Or for me, it would be the Supernote A5X, absolutely hands down, because I've been spending so much more time. I definitely agree with one of the viewers who said, like, I'm so spoiled by the Supernote experience writing. Yeah, you get spoiled like immediately in 2 weeks. I have a very difficult time to go back from the writing on Supernote because of the titles and the keyword and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I could get the NXTPAPER for $350, get the Supernote A5X for $500, and still have $150 left instead of the Bigme B1 Pro. So yeah, that price just does not make any sense to me. This is conjecture and speculation, so I don't have any of the devices here to actually test them, but I do have considerable experience with the devices so far to actually be able to conclude with a certain degree of certainty and understanding of what to expect and what not to expect. That is not the case with the NXTPAPER because I have zero experience with that technology, so that remains to be seen. It could be a complete dud. First indications are that it might not be the complete dud, so we'll see. One thing for me is very clear: Bigme B1 Pro and Kaleido 2 are not worth the $1,000 markup. Absolutely not. Tell me what you think and tell me what your impressions are of these technologies, and do head over to the channel. It's down in the link below, and check out the video so that you can see it for yourself. Absolutely check it out before, if you're considering buying this for whatever reason, then definitely check out the video so that you can see if that's a thing for you, because $1,000, man, I mean, that's crazy amount of money. So yeah, you should do your research thoroughly if possible. If you like the video, please like and subscribe and ding the notification bell to get notified when the new videos are coming out. Have a great Saturday, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!